This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed. Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Tune in to see if you're on target. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio, giving veterans a voice.
Hi, welcome to Tracer Rounds. I'm your host, Terry, and the interview of the week is Dawson Edwards.
Interview of the week sponsored by LTD Tactical.
Welcome, Dawson, to the show. I'm so excited to have you. So if you don't know who Dawson Edwards is, let me tell you. He is an up-and-coming country artist, and he is also part of Operation Song. So we first want to kind of talk about your career and how you got started. I know I've read your background, and I think you started at age 14, and you bought your first guitar at a pawn shop, I want to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in music and your passion and, you know, how you've just progressed over the years into where you're at today?
Yeah. So when I was a kid growing up, I mean, I was just kind of always, I was always around music. No one in my family plays music, but both my parents are like big music fans. My dad always listened. He always had CDs of like the old Hank, Waylon, Merle, that stuff. And then my mom always had like GAC, CMT, like playing in the house, 24/7. So I was around music in that way, nonstop. And I started kind of writing, I guess you would say, songs, but with no music to them when I was, around that age, 12, 13, 14. And at Christmas, when I was 14, I had gotten like money, or whatever for Christmas gifts. And I used that money to buy a guitar at a pawn shop when I was a little kid.
That's awesome. So, So were you just writing like what you would consider like a story, or were you writing lyrics? And did you ever think that you would then like take the guitar and figure out the music to go along with those lyrics, or what? I mean, so obviously the songwriting comes first and then the music part of it comes second. But when you were 12 or 13 and you're just starting out, what was your thought process on songs? Were you thinking about life events? Were you thinking about like what other people were doing? What was your inspiration, I would say, or I would ask you?
Yeah. So they basically I would consider them like poems, probably just like, lines that rhymed with each other and had some kind of scheme. Not necessarily the greatest, most thought out, stories and stuff. Cause I feel like, as a kid, and I've kind of had this conversation with other of my buddies that are in the music business, but it's like, what attracted you to liking songs when you were a kid? Like, you hear songs about like Eric Church is one of the main reasons like I ever picked up a guitar, and he talks about, drinking beer and working on cars and smoking cigarettes and all this. And it's like, well, when you're 12 years old, you don't do any of that stuff. So like, why do you, what attracts you to like that kind of music? And I think, we've kind of talked, I think what that kind of comes from is like, that's kind of what you want to do, like you want to be that guy. You want to, you want to do that stuff when you get older. And, you don't really have like heartbreaks and stuff when you're, a kid, and it's a little crush here and there, or whatever. So it was all of that kind of stuff, like kind of like stuff I wanted to do. I had songs about like when I was a kid, like, like real heartbreak stuff, even though I'd never really been through any like real heartbreak, when I was 14 or 15, and stuff like that. So I feel like that's kind of where it came from. And one of the biggest things that helped me putting music to songs was like going out and learning how to play my favorite songs that were out, whatever it was. I kind of had a goal when I was a kid, like to learn at least one song a week. And I did that for a long time as growing up, because, I also started pretty much when I got to where I could play like not many songs, like 20 to 25 songs plus the songs I had written. I started playing in like little Mexican restaurants and sports bars and stuff like that. One day after school, and I know I was like 15 or so, because I know I wasn't 16, because my dad was like picking me up from school and like took me there to this place. It was called Wow Wingery. It was just a little like a wing sports bar, but not like a over 21 bar. It was like a restaurant that just had a bunch of TVs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I was, like I said, I think I was 15, so I'd been playing guitar for about a year, probably, I'd say, and probably, like I said, knew like 25 songs, 30 songs plus what I'd written.
Wow.
And which is not enough for a set, by the way.
It's not? 25 songs isn't enough?
Yeah, not enough for a set, for sure.
Okay.
When you're going in there and playing for 3 hours. And I just walked into the owner, and I was like, hey, I'm playing guitar, and I was like, I could bring all my friends out here. I think we could do good. Could I like play out here? And he was like, yeah. And he gave me $50, and I played, and I had played a 3-hour show, and all my friends came, and I had a little tip bucket. And it was at that moment, I was just like, this in some way, shape, or form, like I want to do this forever. Just everything about it. I just loved everything about it, and I didn't know anything about it, but what I did know is that I just loved, what I just got to do. And then it moved from there. Like I said, I just played at, like I said, Mexican restaurants and sports bars. And, I played at, real bars that I could get into that my friends couldn't get into, but because I was playing, I could come in and play before I was 18. So yeah, that's how it all got started. And then when I could learn songs, and I would learn these songs, and I would just, like it was a lot of help from my parents as well. Cause my parents were just like, this is good. Like you can sing, you can play, like they weren't just telling me that because I was their son. Like they actually believed that I could, like it was good, and they liked it, like a big help too. And, just kind of seeing, kind of like we were talking about before here, fast forward, like 4 years from there into high school, when I was 18, I had, I want to say it was like 11 or 12 songs. And I went into a little place that's kind of like a little south from where I'm from, kind of north of Atlanta. And this guy had a studio, which at the time I just thought was the coolest thing in the world. And,
of course,
he just, I didn't know how to play to a click track. I didn't know anything about other instruments or whatever. So I just sat on a stool. We set up some microphones, and I played all of these songs, like one take all the way through. and we put them on a CD. And I literally there was a Sears in my hometown. It's not there anymore. Just promoted it like crazy on Facebook and told everybody like we're gonna do like a CD, release party. That's probably what I called it. And just parked my truck out there, and a bunch of people came to it. And like, I didn't like sell the CDs. I was like, whatever you want to give me for the CD, I'm cool with that, and some people would just take a CD, and some people would give me, $20 or more than that for a CD. And I just remember like a bunch of people coming to that. And I was just like, that was kind of mind blowing at the time, like being 18.
Yeah.
And I just always knew that I wanted to move to Nashville and, play music. So there's a lot of people that moved to Nashville that say like, I didn't even know songwriting was a job, or I didn't know you could do this or do this. But like, I knew all that. I'd looked all of it up. I'd already looked up places to live and stay and where to be and kind of, what kind of stuff was going on. So I moved to Nashville a year after high school. I got a job at a countertop shop. Worked there for exactly 1 year, saved up about $5,000 and
Wow.
moved to Nashville.
That's awesome.
And I've been there, and then this is my 9th year. 10 years will be next year in May. So
wow. So you haven't regretted your decision to follow your passion for music at all, have you?
No, not at all. There's definitely been some hard times. It hasn't just been all unicorns and rainbows for sure. There's been a lot of, hard times, especially through like COVID. I've had previous deals, and I can't remember if, we've talked about that or anything, but, I got signed relatively quick moving to Nashville, which is, very, very rare, really. I got signed when I was 21 years old.
Wow.
To a company called BMG, which is a really big company. And I was there for 3 years, and like I look at, I'm 28 now, and I write with, kids, guys that are, 19, 20, 21 years old. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, you were so green. Like you just have no idea about life. And I just know that that's what all those guys were saying about me, 10 years ago when I was 20, 19, 20 years old. And, getting put on these big rides with these guys that wrote songs that I grew up listening to, and they're just like, damn, you're green as grass and don't know anything about life. So you learn a lot, and, you go through getting deals and getting dropped, and then like, having to make ends meet. And I've done every weird job that you could possibly imagine over the years, just, to pay rent and pay the bills. And, so no, I have not regretted it, but it's not always perfect by no means.
Right. So what would you say is your most interesting job that you had, that you said you were trying to do some jobs to pay the bills? What would you say your most interesting job was so far to date to help with, finances and help with money coming in?
The most interesting is I drove the big party trucks downtown. So like all the big long trucks that are, like 50 or 60, however long they are, I don't even know. The big long trucks, and they're open, and they got the party music and a bartender on the back, and there's half naked women dancing on the back of it. I drove that in Nashville in 2020 when I lost my deal, and before I got on with Travis, that's what I did there. Did that. And I did a bunch of other stuff. I waited tables. I hauled trash off for apartment complexes. I washed cars. Washing cars. I got to wash like some NFL players, like Lamborghinis and stuff, because I worked for kind of like he did kind of more high end cars anyway, And I did stuff like that. But I just did literally anything I could to still be able to write songs and still somehow to be able to pay the bills.
Well, it sounds like you are following your passion, and it sounds like you're just, willing to do what it takes to get it done. So what are you doing right now? What are you said you're opening, are you playing with Travis Tritt? Tell me exactly what you're doing with Travis Tritt.
Yeah. So I'm the stage manager for Travis Tritt. So In 2021, one of my best friends, he got hired on as the assistant tour manager for Travis Tritt. And the guy that was the drum tech, his mom got sick, something anyway, he had to quit, and they basically didn't have anybody else. So they asked Caleb if he knew anybody to be down to do it. And I had zero experience doing what I do, but I was like, yeah, I'm down, as long as they know that I have no idea what I'm doing. And here again, it was another job where I can work on the weekends and, write songs during the week. And it's been incredible. I've been doing that since 2021. I still do that to this day. I travel with Travis on the weekends and then, write during the week. And I just got signed to my new publishing deal in January of this year. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to play Dawson's song, Earnhardt Fast. And I think you're going to figure out what it's about. So hang on, and we're going to play Earnhardt Fast. Hi, welcome back to Tracer Rounds, and I'm your host, Terry, and in the studio today with me is Dawson Edwards, and he's an up-and-coming country artist, and he works with Operation Song, and he also is a stage manager for Travis Tritt. But I wanted to ask you a little bit. I know we talked that you were just in Waco this past weekend, and you mentioned that there was some that they were inviting veterans to come, and there's a program that's going across the U.S. about having bands come to campgrounds, and then they invite military members and first responders to go. Can you tell me about that?
There
Hold on.
we go.
You are muted. So sorry about that. There we
You're
go.
good. That's what I said. I said I think my mic is
It
muted.
is. Sorry.
Yeah, so I didn't really know till this weekend till we got there in Waco, but there's a person that owns a bunch of campgrounds, I think all across America. I think it's like 30 campgrounds or something like that, and they're putting on these concerts. It's kind of a new thing. They're putting on these concerts, but they had told us, when they got there that they they gave a lot of tickets away to veterans, first responders, and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be, like I said, it's just getting started. So I think that's going to be, a new, probably a new thing kind of going around the campgrounds that he owns. And it's people that are that are paying, to be at the campground that weekend. Like part of the experience is getting to go to this concert and, hang out for the weekend and all that. So, like I said, it seems like a really cool thing to me. I don't have all the details, but I they did tell us that they gave a lot of tickets away to veterans, and Travis is a big advocate for veterans and stuff as well. And he talks about the veterans and all the stuff that he's gotten to do with veterans. So I know he's probably a big fan of that as well.
That's really cool. I really think that's a neat offering. And going to those campgrounds and stuff, I've not stayed at any myself personally, but in traveling, I've seen them. And I think that's such a nice thing to do for entertainment, because most of them are kind of out a little ways from the city. So having that as a draw, that entertainment value with artists and whatnot, I think that's a really very good way to bring people in and bring people kind of camping or glamping, whichever one you want to call it, because I think that's glamping, really, probably.
Yeah, it was a very nice place, so you could probably consider it that.
So I wanted to ask you too. So we see what's in the background, and we just listened to Earnhardt Fast. Can you tell us kind of about your passion for racing, and then how you came up with Earnhardt Fast?
Yeah, so racing's been a part of. People ask, like, when did you get into racing? And my answer is always like, I don't ever remember not being into racing. It's just been, it's just a big part of me and my family. My dad loves it. My mom loves it. They went to races, when back in the day. And then my dad used to work on dirt track cars. So like we used to go to races. There's a dirt track in my hometown and another dirt track that's like about 40 miles away. We spent the weekends going to the races when I was real young, and I was just obsessed with it, really. And I gave racing a shot when I was a kid. And if I would have been good at racing, I probably would have never picked up a guitar. But, my two passions in life are definitely music and racing. And through music, I've gotten to experience a lot of cool things in NASCAR. I've gotten to go and meet and hang out with, and there's a few people in that work in NASCAR now that have become really good friends of mine. And me and my wife got engaged at Talladega. So that's nice. Like another, cool thing. The stuff behind me here, I've always collected as a little kid all the way up to now. I've always collected, die cast and stuff. And I didn't really know that like you could buy sheet metal from race cars until about 5 years ago. And there's this website called the Racing Warehouse. And the piece that's like, which way? Like right here, this fender that you 42? Can barely see.
Right that one. I see it. Yeah.
Right above it. I was in Talladega for a race, and I saw a guy. He had a piece of a race car, and I was like, how did you get that? And he was like, just go up to a wrecked pit, a car that's got a wreck. Go to a pit stall that's got a wrecked car in it, and they'll give it to you. And so I was at the 6 cars pit box, which is where these pieces of sheet metal right here came from. I was with those guys, and the car a few stops down, he had been in a wreck, and there was parts and pieces everywhere. And I asked one of the crew members, I was like, could I have a piece of this? And he was like, the more you take, the less I got to put back on this trailer to take home. And I was like, sweet, sounds good to me. So that piece right above me, like I said there, that fender, that's kind of how that got started. And then I found that website called the Racing Warehouse, and they sell NASCAR sheet metal from race cars, and so I've, as you can tell, a little bit from this wall behind me, I've bought a few pieces of NASCAR sheet metal over the years.
That's awesome. So who's your favorite racer?
Kyle Larson, who is the 42. He's not
42 car. Okay.
that's
Very
a
cool.
car, and then I don't know if anybody follows me on social media. After this, you'll see just last week I was on Facebook and saw another piece of Kyle Larson's race car, and it was in a place called Lewisberry, Pennsylvania, and we were going to be in a town that was like 40 minutes away. And I hit the guy up, and we talked, and he brought the sheet metal out, and I paid him for it and got him tickets to the show. So I got to buy a piece of Kyle Larson's race car on the road last weekend, which was pretty cool.
That's very cool. I love NASCAR, and I love racing in cars too. I wouldn't say that I'm kind of an old school fan, so I know the old racers and like the Army car and like Top Fuel. I like those things. So I've been to several Top Fuels, and I've gotten the Sarge's autograph, but and I've seen John Force, but I'm kind of like the old school stuff, not like the newest racers. So I got to kind of get back into it, but I love cars too. So yeah. I get it. So you said you weren't good at racing. Why do you say you weren't good at racing?
Scared to death.
Oh,
that was the biggest problem. Just scared to death.
Yeah, they go fast.
They do. My dad got me a dirt track go-kart that went extremely fast, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I haven't got to try my hand at it, so I don't know if I'm scared yet or not.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, my uncle used to tell me because I learned how to drive a stick when I was really young, and so they told me I'd be the first woman racer. But I think Shirley Muldowney was, so I don't think it was me.
Yeah, it's crazy. You got to be crazy to do it. So, and I'm crazy, just not that crazy.
Right, you have limits.
Yeah, some limits. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so tell me how you came up with Earnhardt Fast. I know it's about racing. I mean, it's about more than racing, but like, how did you choose Earnhardt, and then how did you write the song?
So back in the day, that song was written with my buddy Caleb, who I was talking about earlier, that works for Travis now. One of my best friends. He was the best man in my wedding. I was the best man in his wedding. Great dude. One of my, like I said, best friends, favorite co-riders, and he's also a massive NASCAR fan.
Okay.
And so that was when I was at BMG. I wrote, especially in that time of my life, like most of my songs are just beer drinking, hell raising party songs. And someone had told me that I needed to write more love songs. So that was my interpretation at the time of a love song, getting to a girl's house, Earnhardt Fast. So that was kind of how that came about. But
I like it.
I thought it was a cool way to, mix the two together.
I think so. I think it's a perfect combination of your passion for one thing and then passion for another. I think it segues real nice. So we're going to take another break, and we're going to play Raised on Red. And so when we come back, we can talk about how you came up with that. And then we're going to talk too about Operation Song and what you do for them. So we're going to play Raised on Red.
What's up, y'all? My name's Dawson Edwards, and this is Out Here Code Tailgate Sessions. The song right here is called Raised on Red. I wrote it with Heath Sanders and Houston Phillips. It's a little song about being a little redneck. Good Lord could have chose any color to paint the sky where the sunset sits. The good book, yeah, he made sure it's on every word that was ever his. It comes right before white and blue. I ain't never heard it any other way.
I'm talking about red, red on the back of my neck, red clay stained with my Chevrolet caked on these boots, the pack of red man that my pawpaw chewed. That red, the red that runs through my blood, the one that I'm damn proud of. Man, I love that I was raised on red. Yeah, raised on red. Don't get me wrong, I love a green tractor. Ain't nothing runs like a deer. And I was baptized in a little white chapel, just like everybody else around here. Red, red on the back of my neck, red clay stained on my Chevrolet caked on these boots, the pack of red man that my pawpaw chewed. That red, the red that runs through my blood, the one that I'm damn proud of. Man, I love it, I was raised on red. Yeah, raised on red. Raised on red. It'll be pumping through my veins till the day they put me in that grave. I'm talking about red, red on the back of my neck, red clay stained on my Chevrolet caked on these boots, the pack of red man that my pawpaw chewed. That red, the red that runs through my blood, the one that I'm damn proud of. Man, I love it, I was raised on red. Yeah, raised on red. Good Lord could have chose any color to paint the sky where the sunset sits.
Welcome back to Tracer Rounds. I'm Terry, your host, and with me tonight is Dawson Edwards, and I'm so excited to have him on the show. Thank you for being here, and we're enjoying your music. So tell us a little bit about Raised on Red. How did that come about?
Yeah, so Raised on Red's probably the most important song that I've ever gotten to be a part of for many reasons, but I wrote it with Houston Phillips and Heath Sanders, and Houston originally brought it to me, the idea to me, and he was like, everybody else, no one else is like redneck enough, or they're too scared to say like Raised on Red in the song, whatever. So like, I know you're the guy that would be down to do that. And so, yeah, I loved it. And we wrote it, and that was in like the end of 19, beginning of 2020, one of the two. And I think it was the beginning of 2020 before everything went crazy. And Heath Sanders, who is signed at Big Machine, he was all about it, and he had just cut a 4-song EP that they were going to put out, and they're loving the song, and they're like, we're going to bump out a song and put this on there, or we're going to just add this one to it, whatever. And then none of that ever happened. And I was like, kind of crushed, because I never had a major label cut before, and that's like a big deal to me. So,
Yeah.
That was the end of 2020 when they finally just said, they're not going to put it on there. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to put it out. I'm going to post it and promote it and all this. And so I did. And then it started doing really well on TikTok and, other things. I got a lot of cool opportunities off that song. And then I put it out in 2021, me singing it and whatever. And it was still this day the best song, like the best number song I've ever put out. Like I said, did the most for me, all this. Well, then it comes back around to like the end of 21, and they say that Heath's going to cut it, and he ended up putting it out in 2022, and they brought Justin Moore on it as a feature, and Justin Moore is one of my favorites growing up, so it was like that was like a big deal. So yeah, that's kind of the trajectory of that song, and it's like I said, still done the best for me, since, and has opened up a lot of other doors as well.
That's awesome. So we were talking a little bit before we got started, and you were telling me about your upcoming tour dates and where you're going to be, and where you're, what cities you're going to be performing in. Can you tell us about your upcoming shows, and where do we find out if we're in the area and we want to attend a show?
Yeah, so like I was saying, since I've been with Travis, I haven't been able to do as many of my, my shows. So I don't have like a tour, like a website. I have a website and it's up to date, but I don't have like tour dates or anything on there because I don't play enough shows yet for them to all be listed. But yeah, I have some shows coming up down in Georgia in November 14th, 15th, and 16th in Athens and Douglas, Georgia. Those are coming up. I have, like I told you before, I got 4 new songs that we just recorded. Haven't put out a song in a couple years, so I got some new songs coming out at the top of the year, and really going to push. We're done with Travis after Halloween weekend, so like going out this winter, starting next year, playing some of my own shows, getting back into that, and then we'll start back up with Travis in March or April of next year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun the next few months.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So can you tell us the names of your new songs?
Yeah. So the first couple that are going to be out are, one's called Take My Truck. One's called Something I Can Drink To. One is going to be like an acoustic kind of thing that I played at mine and my wife's wedding. It's called God Made You.
Oh.
And then the last one is kind of funny. It's kind of the same situation as Raised on Red. So Raised on Red was on hold with an artist for a long Raised on Red. It's the same story as Raised on Red in a way. It's called I Don't Want to Fight No More. And it was on hold with an artist for a while. And what on hold means is like the companies and stuff don't show it to any other artists. Like that artist is like, I want to cut this, we're waiting on the next cycle or whatever. And it ended up not making the record. And so this year I was like, I'm gonna put it out. Like the song's so good, like I'm just gonna put it out.
Yeah.
In May, while I was in Key West, I got the phone call that Will Mosley, who just finished second on American Idol, got a call that he wanted to put it out. And I was like, that's awesome. So they put the song out not too long ago. It's called I Don't Want to Fight No More. But they were cool with me still doing my version. So that's going to be the last of the 4 is that same song, but my version.
That's awesome. And so we learned earlier that they don't cut CDs anymore. They do digital downloads of music. And but do they still do records, right? Because they're still selling record players. And so are they still actually publishing records? Because I've seen some stuff I want to say.
I think in like 2024 records, there's more records sold, like actual like vinyl records sold than CDs, because yes, people do buy record players, and like vinyl is cool in itself, but like CDs, they don't make CD players anymore. They don't have CD players in new vehicles anymore. No one buys CDs at all.
Except for I have an older 2017 truck and it has a CD player in it.
There you go.
I look for CDs.
Perfect.
Still, but I can put my music in there too, and I do that most of the time. But every now and then you got to go old school with it just a little bit.
That's right.
So the reason you and I met is through Operation Song, and Operation Song. Why don't you tell what Operation Song is? Because I think it'd be better from your perspective.
Yeah, so Operation Song is I don't know how it got started. I don't know that, but it's where veterans can, write songs with actual, published Nashville songwriters. Like it's the whole experience, and like I've told you when we wrote, and like I've told everybody else, it's exactly how a co-write goes in Nashville on Music Row at 11 o'clock every day. You come in and the Chase introduces the veteran and the songwriter, and then you kind of take it from there, and you schedule a time that you're both available, and you get to talk and hang out. And like I said, that's exactly how a co-write goes. You go in and talk and about life and what you're going through and all that, and then in a couple 3 hours a song falls out. And so it's a really cool, whoever thought up the idea to do it, it's really cool. And yeah, so it's a way, and I think there's other ones out there, but where veterans can come in. I'm not even sure like how you go about like filling out a form or something, but you just basically register online and say that you want to write a song, and then Chase, I'm not sure how many songwriters actually do it, but a friend of mine, he started doing it, and like I told you, I'm a big supporter of police and the military and all that, but I've never really. And I've always wanted to do something with them, but I just didn't know what or how or really anything. Like I didn't know what it could be. And a really good friend of mine, he does it. And Chase, he had a different job back in the day, and I knew him through booking at the listening room, booking shows, and got to hang out with him one night. We talked about it. I was really interested in doing it. And so like I said, that started earlier this year in like January or so, start doing that. And Travis, like I said, he's really big on the veterans in the military, and he did a lot of stuff back in the day through Anymore and Tell Me I Was Dreaming. They got to do some of those songs, and they had like the actors, and they did them at veterans clinics and stuff like that. Like the people in the videos were actual veterans, and he got to go around, and he got to play for the veterans. But like he always talks about, like one of his biggest things was like getting to like actually hang out and like talk to people, and it wasn't just like plug and play, you go play songs. And because we could all just go do that, but it's a lot cooler to get to sit down and write and talk with and just kind of hear stories. And the same way they like to hear my story and where I came from, and how I got started and all that. So it's really cool, and it's a way that's like I write songs every day, so it's something I'm very comfortable with. It doesn't feel forced or awkward. Like it doesn't have any of that. It's just real songwriters that are that get to write songs with veterans, and it's you go. Each veteran kind of had, like, some of them they want to talk about, the military and stuff and want to write about it, and some do not. Right. And I've gotten to write with people that have been out of the military for a long time. I've gotten to write with people that are currently serving in the military, like right now. I've gotten to write with people that have been out for a couple of years. I've gotten to write with a bunch of different, people, and got to meet a bunch of different people. And I always get everybody, they all have my phone number. So we get, there's been a couple that watch racing. So like we'll text on a Sunday, about, whatever's going on and stuff like that. So I really enjoy it. I think it's really cool and really neat. And I think it's a great program.
Yeah, I do too. And so I applied, and Dawson and I got paired. And so Dawson set an appointment for us to meet and for us to do a songwriting session. And I tell you what, he had a song written in less than an hour. It was an hour, and he had already had the music all figured out. He like had all the lyrics. Like, I don't know how he did it. I sat there and I just talked a little bit, and he was strumming on his guitar. And the next thing I know, we have a song. So I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't even know how to say thank you. And I don't even know where to start with just telling you how important I think the work is that you're doing for veterans and the veteran community, because these songs, mine isn't so much, like the Army type song that a lot of the veterans might write. Mine's more, like you said, more like you hear on the radio maybe. in country music, perhaps you just hear it on normal everyday listening, and not necessarily you wouldn't think veteran if you were hearing it. But I it touches me every time I play it, and I've played it probably no less than 35 times, and that's
That's awesome.
probably a conservative estimate as well.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to play it for you. It's the first time it's being debuted. So we're going to hear the song that Dawson wrote when we had our songwriting session, and it's called Girl Like You.
You're as pretty as a picture on the cover of a magazine. You ain't ever seen a sunset you don't like, and you don't leave me hanging around this little old town, wondering what you're doing right now. I don't know how a boy like me got a girl like you wrapped around his finger with every little move you make. It's making me fall in love with everything you do. Had a boy like me get a girl like you. Yeah, you love that flag, stand up for the red, white, and blue. Grew up on a farm doing the things your daddy taught you to. Like how to really work, love the Lord, go to church, give it all you got, make the best out of words. Yeah, don't know how a boy like me got a girl like you wrapped around his finger with every little move you make. Is making me fall in love with everything you do. A boy like me get a girl like you. Get a girl like you. A girl like you is a once in a lifetime, wearing army green, shooting tracers through the night sky. Loves her football, Idaho draw, everything you'd want. Had a boy like me get a girl like you wrapped around his finger with every little move you make. Is making me fall in love with everything you do. Had a boy like me get a girl like you. Yeah, get a girl like you.
Welcome back to Tracer Rounds. I'm your host, Terry, and with me in studio tonight is Dawson Edwards, and you just heard the debut of Operation Song that Dawson wrote with me. I didn't write it, he wrote it, in our songwriting session, and it's called Girl Like You. And so I was just talking while he was writing, and I made the comment that someone said to me when I enlisted in the Army Reserve is what I enlisted in, and I'm still in. And so they said to me, what's a girl like you doing here? Like, why? Like, girls like you don't join the military. Why are you here? And so Dawson took that and he wrote a song around Girl Like You. So tell me from your perspective, how hard is it, like, especially since I didn't give you a lot to work with, how hard is it to write songs like that? Because you just started strumming, you just started like penciling, you were like writing on the computer. Like, I don't know how you did that.
Every kind of like what I was saying earlier, like not every day writing a song, whether it be like, operation song like we did, or writing a song, on Music Road. Like sometimes they just come out. I don't know how to describe it. They come out like everything that everybody says just feels right. It feels it's moving, the melody's good, whatever. And then some days it literally feels like you're beating your head against the wall for, 4 or 5 hours. And we might even talked about it when we wrote, but like that, it's not, I always make the joke, like it's not supposed to be hard, like if you're trying to force it, something's probably not right. Like the melody doesn't fit that song, or like the idea you're going with, it doesn't feel right, whatever it is. Usually if you have to force it, it's not correct. So like that's when you step back and look at it, or you step back, you could look at the same song or the same idea and listen to it a day later or a week later or a month later, and it's almost like you look at it through a different lens than what you originally thought like that day,
Mm-hmm.
And it all just depends. It all depends on the day. I don't know how to describe it. It just, some days it's flowing and you just feel good and everything's flowing out. And then some days it just, like I said, feels like you're hitting your head against the wall.
So MJ is one of our hosts from the world of conscious positive thinking. I always have to think about the name because she always like tests me every time, but she's saying that's the angels telling you not this one. So if it's just not working, that's what it's telling you. The angels are saying not this time. So we have several podcasters that are listening tonight. We have Amber from Into the Weeds. We have Slacker 82 Alpha. I can't get that out. Watching tonight, and there's some others as well. So I have to tell you, though, that when I play that music, I think back to us writing that song. I keep saying us. You wrote it. I keep thinking back to the session, and I keep thinking back to, just telling you about what was going on at the time, or telling you about a little bit of this and that. And it always brings out some emotion. So I know that when you write with other people, other veterans, that it does the same thing, that they're feeling like a sense of validation, I guess, for their service, and a validation for what they went through. So I want to thank you for the validation, because I feel like that's what you're doing, because it's for those that suffer a lot of PTSD and some other injuries from being deployed. This is a healing thing for them. Like it's therapy. It's therapeutic to work through, what they went through, some of their emotions, some of their memories. Like this is really the nuts and bolts of who they are, or why they are, or how they are today, is because of this service. And you just putting that service to some kind of format where other people can hear it without them having to say it. Because that's the hard part. Like you say, some of them don't want to talk about it. So when you're doing the music, this is them saying it without saying it. And they don't have to repeat it. They can just say, here, listen to this song. And then people really get what's going on with them, and kind of, well, maybe not to, completely get what they're going through, but kind of have an understanding or an awareness of what their service meant to them, or how their service was for them. So I want to thank you for that.
Totally. Like I said, I really enjoy it. And one of my favorite things is, I guess it's kind of like two things, but one, it's like how, just how happy it makes them. And like, they just seem like they love it. And it's just like, it's just the greatest song that's ever been written, right here in this moment. And I love that feeling. And I love the feeling of like, when they want to show like their family or their wife or husband or dad or mom, whatever it is. And it's like, I'm like, let me know what they think about it, and then, they text me and it's like, oh, they loved it. Now, I showed it to my dad and he thought it was, amazing or whatever. Like, I really, that's like the payoff, I guess. Like, I just really love, like, how happy, and it makes, I guess, not just them, but also like their family and stuff like that, how they really enjoy the song. So it's been really, really cool.
Well, I think that some families would benefit from having their service member, whoever that is, if it's a mom, if it's dad, if it's a brother or uncle, whoever, having a song written for them, because some of them won't talk about their service. I had a veteran on who has a Native American blues band, and I was just talking to him a little bit about his service, and he had his manager on, and his manager, after the show, he said, I've never heard any of those stories from him. I've never heard any of this. This is the first time. We've been together for 15 years doing music and doing, all of the production that we do, and I've never heard these stories. So I think with you creating words to their thoughts or to their service, gives a chance for somebody to actually hear that side of them that they didn't know, because a lot of families have no idea what service or what their service member did in the military, because they don't want to talk about it so much, like you said. But hearing like some of these songs with some of these lyrics and whatnot kind of gives them a glimpse into who that person was as that service member at that time.
Totally. I agree 100%.
So we want to talk about your social media stuff. We want to talk about Raised Rowdy Racing, your podcast. How often do you do that, and when's it on?
It's normally every Monday, but here recently it's not been every Monday because we've been so busy on the road.
Yeah.
So we've probably done out of 38, or there hasn't been 34 races this year. I'd say we've done over 20. I'd say we're like 25 episodes this year. We just started last year, but it's it's not about music or anything. It's straight up just me and Caleb talking about what happened the previous Sunday on the racetrack.
Just kind of recapping the racing week or whatnot. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I listened to a good part of it. I don't think I made it all the way to the end because I got interrupted, unfortunately, but it was really good. I enjoyed the conversation and I enjoyed your perspective on it. So you have Facebook, and then you have your website, but you said you don't have anything listed as far as what dates you're going to be anywhere. So is there somewhere though that if somebody wanted to find that and like keep up with you, what's the best way?
My Facebook and Instagram, I keep very up to date, like what's going on, where we're at, what we're doing. I post a lot of cooking on there because I like to cook.
Do you? What do you cook? What's your favorite?
I just got a smoker like 2 weeks ago, and I've made wings twice, pork loin, macaroni and cheese. I've smoked some baked potatoes on there. What else have we done? Steaks. So that's the new thing here recently is the smoker.
Nice.
But yeah, my Facebook, not necessarily. And if anybody adds me on my personal Facebook, that's totally fine, because my music Facebook I don't use a whole lot. So like my personal Facebook and my Instagram are daily kept up to date with what's going on.
Very nice. Is there anything you want to say before we leave? We've got a couple minutes left, and then we'll have to close out. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we close the show?
Just thanks for having me on. This has been awesome. I've enjoyed it. Like this is something kind of like I was talking about, I've talked to other veterans about racing and stuff like that. Like this is, something else cool that, can come on and raise more awareness and just, about Operation Song and, what they're doing. And I would encourage anybody that, I've noted, some like you that don't write at all, don't have anything written down. There's people like that. And there's people that are musically inclined that don't write, that play guitar. And then there's a lot of people that come in and kind of like what I was talking about, have a lot of like poems and stuff like that written that aren't necessarily songs, but you can take all that and turn it into songs. So I would encourage anybody that, wants to do something like that to reach out. And if you want me to be your songwriter, you can probably tell Chase that you want to write with me. So, but yeah.
And I recommend it too. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good session. So MJ is commenting, is that an invitation? And then she said to dinner. So I'm looking forward to following your career, and I'm looking forward to seeing your progression, because I know I'm going to hear you on the radio. I know that you're going to be, I'm going to be humming your tunes, and even though there's no CDs anymore, I'm going to be playing your music in one form or fashion. But we're going to have to close out the show. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. I was so thrilled when you said you'd come on, and you've been such a joy to interview. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for having me on here. I've really enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.